and welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Ray!
Cheers!
Mirjam Albach of Conference Buddy, and me, your host, v2.0, and the Pirate Princess. Så, er vi ferdige? Nei, stopp. And today's guest is the great and powerful Benedikt Deicke of Userlist.
Good job!
Staying on topic.
Staying on topic. I actually grabbed myself a little ginger vodka grog today. Felt like a fall, Christmassy fall. I guess it's not fall anymore. It's Christmas.
No.
Isn't it?
Yeah, next week.
Oh, well, I just he took the intro and I was taking care of the Pirate Princess. So I guess it's us. What have you done, Mirjam?
No, we're not. We're going to ask Benedikt first, aren't we?
About what?
No, we're waiting.
Yeah,
him...
we are doing the homework. We're
first.
Discussing Pyramidal,
okay.
And we might YOLO code depending on how I feel.
Okay, so first it's homework, then it's data model, Benedikt, and then it's YOLO coding.
Yes. But if Benedikt would like to introduce himself in some way, he is allowed to if you planned to do something like that.
Yes, that was my plan.
Okay, go ahead.
So
I'm just gonna drink my vodka and ginger.
Yeah. So Benedikt, what do you do at Userlist?
So I'm one of the co-founders of Userlist, and I'm basically the technical co-founder part. So I do everything that touches code or infrastructure or anything technical. And that's it. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but it keeps me busy all day.
So, but you are programming a lot of the time, or no?
Yeah, I've basically built the entire thing over the last couple of years. So I'm programming a lot, but to be honest, I'm not programming as much as I used to, because suddenly when you run a business, there are a lot of other stuff going on as well. So I spent way more time in spreadsheets than I ever anticipated.
Wow.
But when you code, what's your favorite part of the coding?
I really like solving problems, especially if they are user-facing. So if in the end, like the code I write makes someone else's life easier, that's always fun. And overall, I just like creating stuff. And I like the challenges from time to time. It's not like I always need a challenge, but from time to time, it's nice to crack that hard nut of a problem that you have to unravel. Sometimes even boring stuff like fixing a weird bug or something can be hard at times, but the endorphin rush when you finally solve it is quite rewarding.
I absolutely know that feeling.
I'm going to
put... good feeling.
Hello, Alexei. Okay, homework.
Okay. I'm trying to share one screen at a time now.
Yes.
That's better.
Let's see if that works.
Okay. It should, right?
I said.
Let's see. Let's try it.
Yeah. I'm trying to get it to run, and I'm not getting it to run, but hopefully you are, since it's your code.
I mean, I can it should run. Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. Do you want? I'm gonna add your screen
you can
to
share.
the. Yay!
It's more visible now, right? Okay, cool. So last week,
Very good.
we decided to use Supabase.
We did. Got that super bass. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry.
I waited for you to sing. I waited for you. That's so good.
I
Yeah.
cannot not do that.
That's really nice. So what I did, I set up a client like this. I added the provided library from them, added a Supabase client, and then I built, it's really not like it should be in the end. It was just to see if it works. I added to the conference list. As you can see, it's still work in progress. You can see that because of the console logs here. I added 2 buttons. So if the user is signed in already, they see the button sign out. If they're not signed in, they see sign in. And I added a sign in with GitHub. And yeah, basically I followed.
I mean, sign in with GitHub. That was a lot less code than the sign up when we had the manual sign up with like and now I realize why it's not running for me, because I have to configure GitHub to make it work.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. But I already have keys, so that's fine.
Yeah, we all really dislike the sign in with this like one-time mail, right? So I decided against that. And I started with GitHub. I want to add the other services too later. And I just followed like the tutorials on the Supabase page. And yes, and one tutorial I found online for getting that to work in React. I already mentioned just when we talked before. So I'm working with Vue in my day-to-day jobs the last 2 years. I worked with React before. I thought it should be easier to get back into React. And I spent, I think, 3 minutes last week trying to figure out how to add a computed property in React until I realized, no, you can't. It's Vue. It's not the React way. So yeah, just little tip, if you're working on a side project, you will probably be faster with the technology you use 40 hours a week. But yeah, it's still interesting. Yeah, I added a state for a user, an affect hook to check the user. And this is a setup, like it checks the user, it sets the user if there's a user, sign in with GitHub. I give them a redirect where after the sign in, they should redirect the people back to. That's currently the conference list and localhost. Yeah, it was really easy. It was easier than I expected. And now I will share how it looks like. I hope if I can change my screens. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so I think for with Gatsby, you would probably, if you want to persist the kind of the state of the logged in user for the whole application, and maybe make a React context so you can grab user information wherever you're at, you would do that. You would maybe feel like you want to do that in kind of your layout component, and that could work. But if that for some reason is kind of remounted, it could be remounted because it's actually included on every page. So to get around that, you could add a wrapper around the whole application instead of just like the single pages, and you would do that in the gatsby-browser.js file. So you have a gatsby-node.js file that is kind of stuff that is run on build time. That's why it's called Node for like, I think it's called Node for like Node.js, like it's running in the Node.js kind of side of things on the server. And then in the Gatsby browser, that is what's run in kind of the browser environment. And there you could do wrap. I guess they have something called like wrap. Oh, I never remember these. Wrap page and then wrap root, I think. And then you want to do the wrap root because then you know that it's only going to happen once, and that kind of, and then you can add a component that will wrap your whole application, and then you could have like some global state in there and kind of a context, React context, for instance, and then you can grab that around. Yeah.
See, that's why
now that you have it,
probably Googled 3 days for that.
Yeah. So now that you have it working on one page, and then you could put that, and you can pull that out into its own component and wrap the whole page in that if you if you feel like it. Yeah, but that was just a little tip.
Yeah. Okay, I can also, if you want to show my screen again, I don't think I
Yeah,
can do
and
that,
then we'll
right?
see how it looks like.
Yeah. Okay, so it's in the conference list page, and as you can see, I'm already signed in, which is of course not a good example. Let me. Can I open? Can I open a private tab in the same?
I think if you're just sharing
No.
a window, you can't open like a secret tab or like a
Yeah.
private tab.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just signed out. I can also, I mean, I can sign out. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I'm signed out. So, we go. I'm not pressing sign in, and I'm probably, already logged in GitHub. That's why you didn't see the login screen, but you saw that I was away from the page and got back. So this part is working, and it was easier than I expected. Then
Gold
I did
star.
go-
So I didn't give you a gift
Thank
gold
you.
star. Where's my gold? Where's my? I need Lillian. Where's
Yeah,
my gold
I
star?
want my gold star.
You know what? I cleaned the living room, and I think the gold thing I had here was
Never
like
clean the living room.
purely
Yeah,
thrown
big
away.
mistake.
with
Big
Oh,
mistake.
wow. That's
With
what you get for cleaning.
That's what you get. Well, you can get this like pink button.
Okay, that's good. It's not a gold star, but I will take it.
A very happy family.
Yay!
Yay! No, but that's great. And just on a side note, because I never actually asked you that, Benedikt, like what do you use for authentication on Userlist? Is it your own thing?
Yeah, we're rolling our own authentication.
Mhm.
It's just email password. Yeah.
Yeah. And you are happy with the decision?
Yeah,
That
for the most
sounded like a
part.
loaded question, but it was not. Like
Yeah.
I'm actually curious.
No, I mean, it works. It does its job. We didn't implement it entirely from scratch, so we're relying on some trusted libraries for that. But we wanted to keep the data in house. Like we wanted our list of users in our database and authentication details for them in our database. So the third-party providers, we looked at them, but ultimately we decided, nah, that's.
But why?
Those are our
Why?
customers. Those are
Why
our
did you-
customers. Like if that third-party service goes down and it disappears, they're gone, and our business is gone. And
So that was the main reason, or was it some kind of privacy thing?
I mean, privacy also plays into it, but this was the main reason was that we wanted control over the stuff. And also, I mean, I've been building this stuff for a while now, so it's not like it was a lot of work. We just reused the old trusted thing that always worked. So
yeah.
But when was this? What year was this?
when we made this decision, that was 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. But it's always because you are on Ruby? No.
Yeah, like our backend is written in Ruby and Ruby on Rails, and there are authentication libraries for those for that framework already out there. So it's not like a big deal to do that.
Yeah, I guess that's that's the like a little bit what I envy. Coming from the Jamstack side of things, it's that the people who have been doing Ruby for a really long time, like you really have a lot of these things that we use services for, kind of copy pastable already. Like you've done it so many times, it's like it doesn't feel like that big of a deal. But for me, it would feel like a big of a deal. But as we talked about last time with Swissec, was that for Mirjam's application, it probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But for you with like enterprise and stuff, like when you start getting bigger, there is a lot of kind of added security stuff that might be hard to add yourself. So I don't like it's it depends on what you're good at.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
I'm not against those third-party services. It just didn't really come up with us, and maybe we'll add something in the future. I mean, who knows? But yeah, as I said, it's working. So
because that's what we talked to Swissec last show about. About auth, and that's what that's what he's concerned too. So how long will this provider be around, basically? And he he didn't exactly say it, but he kind of hinted that none of them will actually be around. It's just a ticking clock, and then they'll be bought up or gone. So yeah. So it's very good if you have the ability to do that's the thing with being a developer, that you can actually do the kind of stuff. You can make a decision and put the time in and do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, over to
Are we done with the homework?
Yeah, done
I
with
think
the
we
homework.
are.
Was this
Such
fast
easy.
homework?
I'll give you harder homework.
No.
We'll figure out what the homework will be at the end of this show, everyone.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there's now 2 weeks until the next stream, because Thursday in a week is actually the day before Christmas Eve. And in Europe, at least in our countries, we celebrate Christmas Eve and not Christmas morning. So kind of the day before Christmas Eve is a pretty big deal. But we have decided, at least Mirjam and I will be here working on this app. Might be like more of a coding stream on what we call in the region Little New Year's Eve, the day before New Year's
I
Eve.
didn't knew that.
Yeah, because that is Thursday. Well, we talked about doing it on the 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little New Year's Eve.
Little New Year's. Oh, that's what you were. Yeah. So we'll be here in 2 weeks and probably do a lot more kind of like coding. Maybe we'll do some co-working. We'll see what that kind of will be like. But yeah, let's talk data models.
Yes.
And I feel like Mirjam, do you want to start, Ola?
I can start. I can start with
Yes.
Mirjam. Mirjam, you could also
Oh my
start
God, yes.
because I basically I asked Mirjam what she wanted to ask Benedikt, and I basically just copy pasted those questions. so you could just go, Mirjam. That's yeah.
I mean, it's basically start at the beginning. What actually is a data model? How do you like decide on a data model for a project? And if we get this far, then we can maybe also talk about how to implement actually data model. But it would be more like this kind of, how do you decide that? And I tried to draw something up, which is a bit, I can show it to you. It looks a bit not professional. Let's see if I can open that in the browser so it's easier for us and we don't have to switch. Okay, I called the file super shitty ERM. So like an entity relation model. Yeah, wow, that works. You can see it, right?
And I mean, that's superb.
I mean,
there's
it's
a
not all
gold star.
Thank you. I missed a few things. I have it like also drawn by hand, lying around somewhere here. But I thought, yeah, these are my entities or whatever I need and their relationship to one another. And also, as you see, I just threw in some subscriptions because I didn't know, is this a data? Is this an entity? Is it not? I just decided it's errors in my case. Yeah, but that's what I got. And I'm like, I know I need a database. That is what I know, but what do I put in there? And how should the model look like so I don't have to, in 6 weeks from now, be like, oh, shit, I have to like rebuild it again, which is not easy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an open-ended question for you there, but why don't you just run us through database modeling, university course? I got to see in that. That was not my best subject, so I'm going to defer to you, Benedikt.
Okay, I'll try to do my best. So what is a data model? Basically the way you structure your data in your application. So all the things you want to represent actually make sense. I'm not sure what the official educational definition of a data model is, but in my mind, it's similar to actually exactly what you did there, figuring out what are the main entities inside the application and what are the relationships between them. And from this, it looks like we'll have users, obviously. We'll have conferences, makes sense. We'll have tags, comments, And then those arrows in between.
Yeah. And the second user is actually a profile. It seems like I forgot to update this and didn't realize it. So a user also has a profile, which I'm not sure if that is the data model, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. So I guess you're already on a good...
Oh, okay. No, it's in the error because a user can like subscribe to a conference as a conference buddy or a lurker, but that is the one like straight error. I just realized.
Yeah, so I guess you're on a good track there. What I'd probably suggest is I don't know if there's a good reason to have like login separate from user, separate from profile, because they are all representing the same thing, kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
that would be more the UX flow of kind of.
Yeah, I think I
guess.
mix this.
Like a mix between what the would be and also like a user flow and a model in one, I guess, a little bit here.
Yeah,
maybe
I
a
think
little bit.
Mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
I think it always helps to think about like the entities as things in real life and what they're representing. So a conference obviously is a conference, even though it's not really a tangible thing, but everyone has a good understanding of what a conference is. Maybe has a name, a date, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when you look at login, user, profile, they're all kind of representing a person. So they're like one thing. So there's basically just 3 different use cases for the data in that particular entity. One is for authentication, one is for showing their profile and their name. And actually, I have no idea what the user would be for, because it's kind of a combination of both. So I merged those into one. And then you have those arrows, at least the purple ones.
Yes.
And so those are your relationships between things. And I guess what I suggest is that you, instead of having subscribe as lurker or buddy, think about if that relationship from a user to a conference is limited to just being a lurker or a buddy, like exclusive, or if they can be both. Because if they can be both a lurker and a buddy, then it's actually 2 different relationships.
That's a good question.
And how would you model that relationship? Because would we then have to make a table in between user and conference? If we say they're exclusive, so you have to be a lurker or a buddy, then we have the conferences, we have the users, and then we would have some kind of like database table in between here or object in between here that would say something about if it is a lurker or a buddy and like connect them. Or would there just be like a column in the conference being like, here's all the lurker, here's all the buddies?
They should be exclusive, I think, because let me switch around. Wait, sorry, here. Because I want to offer later, like the functionality should be that you can be like, hey, I want to be a conference buddy for this conference and click this button. And then you would go to the kind of comment section. It's not really comments, it's kind of a thread under the conference, and like type something about yourself. So this, I'm really a conference buddy. I'm going to this conference. I want to go if I find somebody. And lurker is more like if you are not sure yet, if you want to go, or if you're going and you also don't want to participate in discussion, but more like lurk. If a conference buddy comes up, you should be lurker. But in the moment you decide to be a conference buddy, there should be 1 lurker less for this conference. So it's clear for everybody, oh, this conference has like 5 people only watching and 4 people participating. So I think they should be exclusive. That would be my idea.
I think in that case, it makes sense to just draw 1 arrow, because then it's basically 1 relationship between the 2, but with a type, sort of. I mean, this user is interested in this conference, and they're either a buddy or a lurker, so this can be like a type.
How would that model to tables?
Yeah, let me get to that in a moment.
Okay, sorry.
First, let's talk about. subscribe to news.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, first question: do we really need this right now? It feels
No.
like maybe not.
So we would need like so the biggest problem that I had with Conference Buddy before it was like mostly happening on Twitter and in a discourse forum system. And the biggest problem that was happening there, so other than that I had to do everything manually, was that people kind of weeks or months before conferences posted a conference and I want to be a conference buddy, or I'm looking for a conference buddy. And then if they didn't sign up specifically for an email notification, because that was how it worked in Discourse, they didn't get a notification if somebody else posted like in this thread. And then people actually didn't meet because they didn't realize that there was an update. So I would need some kind of, and probably even email, kind of notification if you are a conference buddy or a lurker on a conference, and you have added a comment. So if you are a conference buddy, you have to add a comment. So it's kind of if you're a lurker or have added a comment, you should get notifications if somebody else is posting in this conference. So because that was one big issue. So even if I was like, oh, do I really need like subscription in my MVP? But I think it would be really important. We already like canceled the idea of private messages, so at least we don't need a chat.
Yeah,
That's something, right?
but so question about that. Is that then really different from just connecting user to a conference as a lurker or a buddy?
Oh, so you're saying like database wise, you're just connecting it, and then like the process of subscribing them to news would come out of that relationship. It's not its own relationship.
Yeah, that's the question that I'm trying to get at. Like, is it good enough to just connect the user to a conference by either clicking on the lurker or the buddy button? And if the existence of that relationship is already enough to subscribe
Send
to
emails.
updates about that.
I mean, it could, right? Because the conference is connected to comments. So the conference kind of knows when a new comment is added. And then the conference, and I know the data model does not inform stuff, but then from the conference, the information could go back to the user. So it's no need to connect users to comments, right?
Yeah.
At least not for now. What if like, okay, no, we are building an MVP.
The only thing that we I don't think we need to connect users to comments for the sake of notifications or stuff like that. But I think we need a connection between the two to know who posted what comment.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So there should be a line there, but it should just be kind of posted by would be the relationship.
Yeah.
My internet
like
was.
that.
Yeah. My internet was shitty again.
That's
what you get from living in a big German city.
I mean, the same in here. We're like in the center of Oslo, but nobody wants to dig through our streets because we are in one of the older parts of Oslo and nobody knows what's in our streets. So it's like, oh, we can give you fiber. And we're like, yes, the whole neighborhood is like, we're going to pay up front. It's going to be super. And then they start looking and they're like, oh, we can't provide it after all. And we're like, well, we knew that. You said you could do it, but like, because nobody, like the only ones who are digging through our streets are the city. None of like, nobody else wants to like, and only when they are like legally obliged to dig through our streets. Anyway, that was a side note. When you were off, I said there will still need to be a line or a connection between user and comment, but the relationship will not be subscribe to news. It would be like posted by or author or commenter would be the relationship, I guess.
True. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Some of these university classes stuff is coming back. I don't know. The book is here somewhere. I use it to like prop up things when I need to. To. But yeah.
I think that's the only thing that really needs adjusting there. And then in terms of like, how do we translate the data model to the database? As you chose Superbase, it's a relational database, so all there is in there is basically tables, and the tables have columns, and some of the columns can reference other tables and other columns in there. And if you think about it, for like relationships that are like one-to-one, it's really easy to just like say in table A, row 1, there's a reference to table B, row 1. That's a one-to-one connection. You need nothing else for that. Also, if you have one-to-many, so for example, conference and comments, you can have a table with conferences and a table with comments, and you could just have a reference from the comments to the conference that this is a comment for this particular conference, so you get that model as well. It gets a little bit more complicated when you look at the relationship between user and conference, because they're essentially many-to-many, so it's a list on both sides. And for that, in relational databases, you usually introduce another table. So if we translate this data model into a database diagram, we need a new table between user and conference. And we can just call that subscription, for example, or I don't have a better name, to be honest.
Interest.
Well, interest already.
Yeah. No, I think subscription was
subscription
good,
works for this, and I mean, we can rename it after the fact. So
well, how much can we rename things after the fact? Because I feel like, so after a little bit of more talking, I think we should just like jump into Superbase and try to like model these out inside Superbase. But I just wanted to like ask, how much can you rename and like transform your databases like after the fact? Like now we're in development mode, we could rename, but then we go into prod. Like how hard is it really to change your model after the fact?
It's not impossible, but
I mean, wow, that sounds promising.
Do you have any fun stories from getting stuck with the wrong model, or I don't know if we prepped you on that, but
let's put it that way. I believe, like, and now I'm putting the pressure up real high.
Oh wow!
I firmly believe that one of the key things in software development is getting your data models right.
Oh wow! No pressure at all.
Because getting the data model right is basically deciding how hard your life working with the data is going to be. And
would
that
you say
being
it's
said,
the foundation of your application?
Yeah, it sort of is. I mean, a lot of stuff is either possible or impossible depending on the data model you chose. And that's also the reason why, yes, it can be hard to adjust the data model, but eventually you will learn that you forgot about something. That's just that's bound to happen. That's you can't predict the future, and don't know what you're going to build in the future. So even though it might be hard, I always encourage people to take the time, go through the painful process of adjusting the data model to your new needs and to your new learnings, because that will ultimately make everything easier. It will be much harder to try to work around the wrong data model and make things work somehow, even though the data model doesn't match.
And but the other thing, sorry, go ahead, Mirjam.
Yeah, where's the balance between like being prepared for the future and preparing for stuff you ain't gonna need at some point? Because I have some like ideas for future features, but currently it's about an MVP to just get something out finally. And now I'm like questioning myself, should I like go back and think about possible features? Because I also want to have probably something like in the user profiles and information, how often has this person been a conference buddy or something like that? And now I'm like, can I do this relationship thingy? Can I like get this data? Or is that the point where I will probably notice, oh no, I didn't think about my data model?
I think that particular feature you can just use. That just works with your current data model. So don't worry about that particular one.
Just That's good.
Can you pull up the data model again, Mirjam? Because we're seeing the login screen.
Yeah. I'm not sure why I closed it. I'm
Yeah.
used to closing tabs because it's like
cleaning up behind yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because
so
the
that
other
particular
question
feature, you could just like count the subscriptions of a certain type on a user.
But can you though? What about scaling, Benedikt? Like, what if people have been to like hundreds of conferences? Can we just
millions
count
of people?
I mean, sure, scaling at some point is a problem, but don't worry too much about this stuff right now because there are a couple of things for sure. It will break somewhere, and you won't know where, and it will not be the part where you're prepared for. So, but it will happen. So don't try to predict it. And same thing with features. I mean, sure, if you have like some features in mind that you want to do soonish, it makes sense to kind of consider them and see like if there's something in the data model that contradicts that for some reason, and then maybe think around it. But for the most part, I wouldn't worry too much about it and get something working and then see how it works, how it turns out.
Okay. That sounds less pressuring.
So should we get coding?
Or I guess data modeling, it won't be that. Do you want to go into Superbase, Mirjam?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yes. Are you eager? So no YOLO for me. Oh man, I'm like twitching here. Well, I might do it like parallel to you in my own little. So for people who might be very new, so I haven't really worked with databases directly for years because I've used I've mostly used backends that have been kind of ready for me. But a way that I like to visualize these tables, like if you're not that familiar with databases, if you're ever used a spreadsheet, it is kind of like similar model where every sheet is a table and then you can have multiple sheets kind of in your one Google spreadsheet, I guess, but you can have different tabs. So each table is a tab. And then with these relational databases, you can then kind of relate these spreadsheets together. It's like you could make a mini relational database in Google Sheets if you wanted to. But that is at least a way, if you're not familiar with databases, to like not be so scared of what a table is. It's basically just a spreadsheet. Okay.
So I already have one table. Oh, sorry. That's the one I tried to get working before we started the live stream. I stashed everything because it did not work really well. But let me see. As you can see,
because I guess the users are already made for us by kind of Superbase owns the users.
Yeah, and so I also followed their tutorial for this profile page because you can kind of like use the authentication data that they give you, like if the user logged in, to write in this table. And as you can see, the user test already has created successfully a profile. They cannot see anything about their profile on Conference Buddy, but it worked in one way. It did not work the other way. And I'm not sure if I'm logged out on GitHub and then log in again if everything is still working. But yeah, that's the profiles. Which
so that is a
should be called users. What?
Well, I think maybe wouldn't like Superbase call their thing users. So maybe profile is good. But if you go back to that, because they use users. So you probably should. You should probably use profile for yours. But if you go back to your profile, so that would be a relation, right? That ID field that you had there. Like that would be.
Yes.
Would you usually call that then user ID as a name, Benedikt, or would you call it like when it is reference to a user?
So in this particular case, I think ID totally makes sense because it's the primary key, like like uniquely identifying thing on that row. And I usually call that ID, and it's basically the profile ID because it's a profile table, but it's the ID column. And
because you're saying a user can't have multiple profiles. So this is a one-to-one, like one user, one profile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that makes sense. And I suggest that we start modeling conferences next, and then maybe try to do the relationship between them. So I feel like
But
that will probably the most interesting part.
Yeah, but interestingly, Benedikt, the conferences will be markdown files in GitHub with their IDs over there and not in here.
But I mean, so for now, the conference files, markdown files are basically just like rows on specific data without a lot of descriptions, or maybe we can just use that to the database.
Yeah,
and then
let's make them as tables.
A lot of homework, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead with your ID, Benedikt. I'm going to try to stay out of it. I'll try. I'll drink
it was a good thought.
I'll drink my grog.
I wish I had it. Okay.
And then be more and more obnoxious.
Is this the conferences table? Like multiple? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, naming is important.
The database doesn't care about the name, but I agree. Like naming is important, and I like consistency. So the other table is called profiles, so conferences make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you bump up the font once? Can you bump up the font in the browser one? There, great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now it needs an ID, and that ID would probably also just be unique ID, user ID, basically.
No, this would be the ID for the conference, right? So this would be one of those unique IDs. Like, don't they have like a UUID thing?
They should.
So in the end, it doesn't matter that much. But again, consistency, you use the UUID for the primary key on the profile, so it makes sense to use a UUID for this as well. And I think it's right at the top of the list right now.
Ah, here.
Yeah, so that would be the ID for the conference.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the key part, it's ID, so it's marked as primary, and that's basically for the database to look up those columns.
Okay. Okay, then I will just like
maybe add one column that's name.
Yes. Name, and that is no, I cannot type in there. That's a string.
But should she keep that created at? Like, is that good practice to always have a created at and updated at, or is that not really needed? Benedikt?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt.
What would be your professional opinion?
Like in our application, we always maintain a created at and an updated at column. But that's also because the framework just does it for us. So it probably doesn't hurt to have it.
Yeah, makes sense. Maybe we want to add a filter later, like newest added conferences.
Yeah.
That's good. Then we need updated at. No, I cannot type. That's also a timestamp.
I feel like we should like snip this little thing you've said twice. Like, you cannot type and then send that to Superbase, because we should be able to type in there.
I probably will still say it. Okay, now I have here timestamp, date, and time, including time zone. But I chose now here, which does not include time zone. Isn't that like? Should I do that?
It will. No, I think the difference between the two is now is basically now, right now.
Yeah.
And the other one is now in a different time zone.
Oh. Okay.
At least that's the way I understand it. So you can just use now.
So should I then choose a type timestamp here without time zone?
I don't think you should keep time zones in the database.
Oh,
no. I'm going to defer to you. I'll defer to you, Benedikt.
So this is one thing you should, like, consistency is key. And either you use timestamp with time zone in the database as a column type, or you absolutely ensure that your time zone, that your application always saves dates in the same time zone. For us, we do this in our application to always convert times to UTC and then store it in the database. But if you don't want to make that conversion, then the best way to avoid any problems is using timestamp TZ. So timestamp with time zone.
Okay, that's good to know.
I knew
So I
we-
guess-
I knew it was good
Yeah.
to have you
Yeah.
on. Like this
Yeah.
is gold.
It is.
Because I mean, it makes sense. 8 o'clock is something else depending on where you are, depending on the time
Yeah.
zone. So
Yeah.
it absolutely makes sense to say that.
Garrett says, but then I think you should have now with those big letters because then it would be the same for created at and updated at.
Yeah, I like chose it from here. I'm not sure why that.
Oh, so
goes
it's the
now.
same. It's just okay.
Yeah,
So
it's a
Garrett
function
says-
call. Doesn't make a
Time
difference.
zones, fun for a lifetime, smiley face with a
Ah,
There
and
is.
sweat
beyond.
emoji. Oh, it's a friend of yours?
Yeah, we used to have an office together.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so
now
I
we can have a name or a
created,
title.
updated. Name. I mean, conference name. That makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, that's text. I was looking for string, but okay. Next question. I'm not sure if that's relevant right now, but the default value now is null. Is that okay? Or should the default value be an empty string? Is there some preference?
So the default value is basically used when you don't specify anything. And in this
Yeah.
particular case, I think an empty string doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's also
Yeah.
something else I'd suggest. If you click on the settings icon at the end of the column, you can specify if the column is nullable, and that basically tells the database, is this value allowed to be empty?
Oh,
And-
nice. It's not.
Exactly.
Right?
And
Nice. Also
I'd-
not. No. Sorry.
I-
No.
Nice.
And honestly, this is something that kind of annoys me most of the time. Like most database tools, they always assume like, yeah, it's probably fine to not have a value for that. And I almost always go in there and tell like, no, it
Yeah.
needs to have a value because no
Yeah.
value there just doesn't make any sense. So it's good practice to always check that this is the correct
Mhm.
thing and actually makes sense, because it will prevent problems in the future where you suddenly have conferences without names for some weird reason, and that
Yeah.
breaks your UI code and stuff like that. So it's good to just like
Yeah.
make them not nullable and also not provide a default value, because if you don't provide anything when inserting it, the database will take the default value, and because we didn't specify one, it will return an error message telling us, hey, you
Yeah.
can't create a conference without a name. So that makes total sense.
Okay. Huh. Today we learned, or I learned. So then at conference, we also have I think I call it start date, which probably also would be this timestamp thingy, or
Maybe
is
a
it better
date?
to choose date?
It depends if they're a full day or not. What if they are a meetup?
I mean, I have it's currently only for conferences. So, and if it would be a meetup, we could probably add something additional only for meetups about times. Like if you only have one date, then maybe also time, but I don't think that meetup are really a use case. I mean, I own the domain meetup, but you're not gonna lie, but it's all in the future. Yeah. So
But she said
more
something
like-
interesting there, because she said like, if it's a meetup, then we could add something, and then would that need to be broken into its own table? Because otherwise, what you said about nullable would be,
Sure.
because then you probably would have like 4 fields or 4 columns, I guess they're
Mhm.
called in tables, columns that only apply to certain types of conferences, and then they would be null if they were not that type of a conference. Would you then kind of break it out into a different, like a meetup table that are only with meetup metadata? Or I don't know, we're maybe
I think we're
getting a little
bit
ahead
ahead
of
of
yeah,
ourselves
well,
there.
see this, but you
But
said we
that's
have to
the
think
thing.
through these things. You
Yeah.
said, Benedikt,
Yes.
you said this is the foundation, the backbone of our application.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Okay.
the thing is, yeah, we're trying to think about it right now, but we actually don't know what any of those details will look
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
future. So
Sorry.
why should we
Yeah.
make something up? So thinking
Because
about it,
there's a
I
balance,
think
right? There's a balance.
Yeah, there's a
about
balance.
this.
I think
This is
for conference, I think it makes sense to use dates.
dates.
Because we actually don't care about the start time. And also, like, time zone's always fun. If we use timestamp with time zone for the start time, we actually have to make sure that we enter it in the correct time zone for the location the conference is at, and then we're getting into territory that we probably don't want to get into.
And I think for this use case also, like, people aren't there to look up the start time. They are there to like connect with other people going to the conference, and then the conference would be the place to go look at times and schedules and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh wow, so many things.
How are you feeling about data models now, Ola? Do you feel like it's are you getting like whoa, or you have to unmute you?
Yes, I am getting whoa. Because I'm also building an app here, kind of on the side, trying to do the same stuff as Mirjam, and I'm thinking I'll just skip this step right here. Yeah. So, but I can tell, like you say, Benedikt, that because I have been trying different stuff now these past 2 weeks because of this step, and I can see how you're right, because I have screwed up a lot of stuff with my data models already. I mean, and I don't even have any users who can go in there and do stuff I didn't expect. So yeah, but yeah. I'll learn it later.
Yeah, but I think this is good. Good like walkthrough, because now you see somebody making it. It could start those thoughts processes going. So the next time you're looking into it, you're like, oh yeah, that could be a table or that could be a column. Like you could start having a little bit of a feel for it. Yeah. But I guess adding columns though, Benedikt, that's pretty, like that is an easy update to your data model.
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, now we are almost at the point where it gets interesting. I mean, I'm also adding a URL here. That's all I also have in the Markdown files.
But
I'm not sure if description at some point should be like for the WYSIWYG HTML input, but no, I don't think so. Yeah. But the interesting thing we are now getting at is we would need tags on the conferences. And this tags should have a relationship with the text table, or do we want to ignore tags for now and connect this thing with user subscription?
I'd suggest we keep tags for later and connect them to users first, because there's another interesting discussion to have around tags, but I feel like we're not getting to this today.
What? I mean, I have all night, so I don't know.
That's where I got all my troubles with tags. That's how I
really
I got into trouble. Yeah.
Should I enable row level security? I'm just enabling security things over and over.
I mean, conferences aren't though. That's public data. So
yeah, that's true. But it's recommended. There's like a green label that says recommended.
Honestly, I'd skip it for now, but it is definitely something you should look at before publishing the thing. Because I mean, it gets kind of interesting on who is allowed to add at conferences, who is allowed to add them, and stuff like that. So
I guess that's what's it for. Yeah, it's not for who's going to read it; it's who's going to be able to update and write to it.
You can also limit who's able to read it, but let's keep it simple for now.
Okay, we just keep it. Okay.
So now we want to connect users and conferences, either as a lurker or as a buddy. Go, Benedikt.
Yeah. So we talked about this earlier. So we have conferences, we have profiles, and we need subscriptions between the two. So, by the way, is the table now called conference and not conferences?
Yeah.
I feel like we explicitly named it conferences.
Yeah, I thought so too. We talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
Yes,
but I guess
updated.
And then
Next, we
maybe
need
insert
a-
a row, so we have a row, so we might see the outcome of what Benedikt is going to walk us through now. If you just insert a dummy conference,
Yeah, we can insert a dummy conference. That makes sense.
True.
because then
Insert row.
it might be a little bit easier to kind of visualize the connection between an actual conference. So I think that it will give it what it give it
It
to
should,
you.
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
I think it should. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. And now we'll be sad that we did everyone not nullable. Now you have to add something to all of them.
That's true. Is it a date picker? Okay, it starts tomorrow and it ends 19. It's in Frankfurt and Germany.
Oh my God, that's tomorrow. I'll go there.
Yes, you should go. This can be nullable, actually. This can be null because no,
we
it
just do
cannot. Why?
Yeah, do example.com and you're like website.com. Great.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Save.
Is it in there? Save.
Oh no.
No, you have. I think we forgot to add the automatic UUID.
We should probably change that.
Yeah.
Because it will not let you set
Oh.
anything for this, unfortunately.
That's true. Okay. No, I close it. Go away.
Please assign a value for this field.
Okay, let's go in again. Edit. Oh no.
Oh, there we
And
go.
there.
Could you? Why?
I mean, we
It doesn't want
definitely need to email email a user base about these
Why?
problems they have. Because I think I
Hey,
did
maybe
that once when I was playing around with it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Can I do a question from the chat now?
Yes.
Maybe you can exit and then add it again and see what happens.
Was that a yes, Queen?
Yes, that is a yes. Yes.
So, so does Garrett have a deep or a not medium voice, Benedikt?
He has a very deep voice.
Okay then. Can you join online conferences with Conference Buddy?
I guess that's for you,
no.
Mirjam.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was so annoyed with this.
What if you do add column and it worked?
Why?
Yay!
Quick,
Why? I'm not
save,
sure why. It just took 12 times. I mean, probably you could, but what I learned since the pandemic is that nobody is interested in looking for conference buddy at online conferences because there was not one person asking about this or doing this. So I think there's no use case. I thought it would probably be also cool to have a buddy at an online conference, but actually there was no one like trying this, asking this. So probably not. Yeah. Which was really sad because everything just went really well and then pandemic and no conferences and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yay.
I'm glad I nailed Garrett's voice on the first try.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I felt
didn't
like it was
even know
close to
wasn't
John's voice. Where is John tonight?
That's why I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Garrett. It's not your. Yeah, I just missed John and I did his voice because I missed him. So sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of you. I wasn't trying to make fun of John either.
No, I know.
He's probably doing something, John.
He's probably doing something very nice.
But the ID thing worked. You finally made it work with. What did you do, Mirjam? How did you just click it many times?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe someone was watching and they rolled out a fix.
Just got an error report. Oh my god, really fast live stream. I mean,
and that shows that Mirjam is like she's a pro developer because she knew that problem, that is something that obviously suddenly will work.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of users who are not developers, they're like, oh, it didn't work the first time. I'm never pressing that button again because
Yeah.
obviously it was my error. The
Yeah.
developers are like, I'm hitting it 12 times because this is the right thing to do.
I push this button. I know it. Sometimes it could work.
Okay, Benedikt, now take it away.
Okay.
How do we connect users and conferences?
Yeah, so now we need a subscriptions table.
Okay, would we call it just subscription, or would we call it explicitly subscription conference profile for the case that we later have other subscriptions? I'm not sure which one. Naming. I had renaming projects at work. I like to get it right.
Yeah.
Maybe conference subscriptions then.
Conference subscriptions?
Like
John is here.
Another thing that's not uncommon is like just naming it a combination of the two tables, like profiles _ conferences. That would be an option as well.
Wouldn't it be users _ conferences? Because we're not going to connect that to the profile table. We'll connect it to the user table, won't we?
Do we have we don't have a users table, do we?
Yeah, it's under the little people
Superbase.
tab there. It's Superbase own kind of internal user base table. I think not Userbase. That's what the service I use. Sorry, Userbase, Userlist, Superbase, Superbase. I mean, you should be able to connect to a user, shouldn't you?
Not entirely sure.
I mean,
it's
I
supposed to work in
can.
that case.
Well, let's start with that. Let's call it subscriptions, and then you can rename it later.
Sure, it's still an MVP. Okay. I'm so gonna to not type it. Is that right? It's a hard word. Okay.
I'm pleased to say that my ginger vodka is vegan. So if anybody was concerned.
Nice.
Ginger vodka. Yeah, it's hard to get the vegan. Okay, so we also have an ID for the subscription, I guess. I mean, it has to have an ID. No?
Yes, I agree. We should have an ID on it. In theory, we could go along without it because, in a way, like the profile ID and the conference ID kind of describes it well enough. But I think we should just have an explicit ID. That makes stuff easier down the road. And
I mean, it does not.
Oh, 2 tries. Woo!
I think you have to. But you have to be fast. I think that's the thing.
Oh, do you know what it is? It's because if you take your mouse down on a too high of an angle, I think the drop down kind of is dismissed. So if you pull your mouse like directly down so that you're not like moving out of that little box, because this happens a lot of menus. So I think if you move your mouse down and not to the side, you might.
Let's debug this.
Okay, and then go straight down. No!
Oh my God, no, you know what's I think I know the problem.
Yeah, what?
No.
Do you have to click on the text?
No, it's not.
Okay.
I thought it. No, I also thought it probably is a text.
Okay, you have to click on not the text then. You have to click outside of the text. In between there.
No.
You have to click hard. You have to double click.
You have
there
to
we
click
go.
sometimes in a row. Okay, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe Superbase, if you're listening, please tweet us the solution for this. No, okay.
Please let us type. Okay. So
now we have
need
created
a column.
We believe that.
So we need a column for to connect to a user or a profile.
Yep.
And how do we do that? Is that like a type? Or is that just something we have to...
So the way it works in Superbase is by click. First we have to name it. So I recommend naming it profile _ ID because it references a profile and that's the ID for it. And then you click on the link icon right next to the name.
You researched, Benedikt. You researched.
Nice. Over prepared.
The two of you should do this more often.
Profiles.
But look, there's users.
Yeah, but
but
let's connect it to profiles and then connect profiles to users. I guess that's
Okay.
then it's totally
Yeah.
separated.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Safe.
it. And then the only other thing, for this one in particular, I'd make sure that it's definitely not nullable, because
That's
that would
true.
make no sense whatsoever.
Also not nullable. But that's a subscription. That's it.
You also need the conference.
Yeah, we need to
Conference.
we also need to connect
But
to
it's
the
a-
conference. Yeah.
Oh, so every time a user connects to conference, there's one new row in the database. So just okay.
Because it's not one-to-one. As soon as it's no longer one-to-one, you must have a new table to
Right?
keep
I mean,
the
the
information.
trick there is like the data, like with tables in themselves, you can do one-to-one and one-to-many. But in this case, we need a many-to-many, so we introduce a
that's
table
true.
in between. So that table has one-to-many and one-to-many on both sides, basically, and that allows to many-to-many. And before you save, one more suggestion: we probably want a subscription type, because you said like you have lurkers and you have buddies.
Oh, we now create our own type.
So you add a column. You add a column.
Yeah, just add a column
and call it type.
and call it type. Yeah.
I wanted to add a type here. Oh, okay. Type. I mean, it's called subscription, so I can name it type, right?
So then it would be typically a subscription type. If you're using it in your code, it would be like get subscriptions and then subscription.type or something like that. But can we say that it's only allowed to be 2 values?
Yeah.
Is there like a
enum?
There might be an enum type. I'm actually not sure. I usually just opt for strings or text for that, and then just ensure in my code that I don't do anything else.
Also, I don't see something. I mean, okay. Let's do text. Also not nullable. Right?
Yeah. And then,
you could do something clever like null being lurker and subscriber being the text subscriber. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Really, for bugs. Awesome for bugs.
Yeah, that's something you'll wonder about what it was about in a year or so.
I know. Ulla, we need your John's voice. John is here and he has a question. We can't hear you, Ulla. You have to unmute. Still.
Do you hear me now? I'm using this.
Yes.
That's very bad. You didn't hear me because Lillian was kind of mocking my voice in the background. Okay, so I have a question from John here. Maybe it's too early in building out these tables, though. Can batch requests / queries be easily carried out? Also, querying multiple tables in one query.
Yeah, I guess that's a question for me. I'm not entirely sure. You can do all of that. SQL is super crazy with the stuff you can do. So it will be fine. Pretty sure about that.
Great. Good short answer. Okay, so now we have subscriptions. So we can insert a row.
Oh, now it gets interesting. Okay.
Because then we can. So the test
profile
user.
ID. I mean, we have one. No. Invalid input syntax for type UUID. But you should create it.
But I think it said public profile. So you are not. It's not your. I don't think it's your profile. It's a different.
It's your profile.
What? Okay.
Like public is the prefix is the namespace of the table space, sort of, and public is the one you usually work in.
Mirjam, did you put on like row security on your profiles?
Probably. I mean, it was suggested. What can I do? It's like saying it's security user data. Of course, I enabled it.
Yeah. So I think that
I think it
it was so
explicitly
secure, you're
said
not
for
allowed to use it.
users. Okay.
Let's see if that makes a difference.
Big moment. No.
Yeah, loading. It was loading.
Oh, I think I know what's happening. It's not
Yes.
it's not it's not a way to choose it. It's a way to jump to that value. And right now there isn't a value. So I think what we need to do is, it's
Go
super
copy and
annoying, but
pasting.
yeah, we need to do a lot of copy and pasting.
So could I
I
enable
thought-
row security again?
Probably.
Asking for friend? I mean, it's me. Shouldn't Superbase kind of know that, hey, it's Mirjam. She's okay. She can use it. So,
Should
I
be
know
fine,
that
yeah.
works.
I don't know, my
Okay.
bank here, my business bank here in Norway, whenever I do, like if I add an account, I have to add the account as admin, or
Mhm.
and then as admin, I have to give myself access to the account. Because if I go to the admin tab, I'm admin Benedikte, and if I go to the like accounts list, I am like user Benedikte, and user Benedikte will not get access to the account before admin Benedikte has given user Benedikte access
wow.
to yeah. Definitely not made for a small business. It's like made for a large business.
I bet the large businesses love that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I copy and pasted it. That worked. Let's see if it worked. Yeah.
Oh, my! We have
Yay.
wow.
Nice.
So now we want you to code how many people are lurking on a conference, but it's 8:15, so I'm not gonna have you do that.
Also, I'm still like struggling with my how does React work again, and how do I do where do I do an API call if I use user effect? It's like I'm really confused right now. No, that can be my homework, right? Kinda. I'm not sure.
That can be your homework. It definitely.
But I don't want to give you ideas.
So Peter Andreas asking, is this SQL? Benedikt.
I mean, that's what we are explicitly using right now. Yeah, this is a SQL database, and it's a nice UI that's probably generating SQL queries for us right now. But the way I understand Superbase is that they have a nice API on top of those tables. So you can either use that to query stuff, or you can drop down to raw SQL for the more fancy stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, because they have because they have a JavaScript library that we can use in our front end and do queries without actually having to explicitly write any SQL.
Yeah.
SQL is one of the like really few things that I explicitly learned in university that I still need every now and then. like specific knowledge where it's like, oh, you're on a project and it's like, oh, that's saved in so and so, and you have to like go inspect something, and it's like I can still get around by just like remembering my little like select all star from, and then I can actually inspect the data that and I still like that's actually the stuff that I use from my database class or data modeling class, I guess.
I mean, I'm biased, but SQL is a super powerful language. Like the stuff you can do with SQL, it blows your mind. I recently saw a Sudoku solver in SQL.
One question before we close up. If I have...
Oh, we're not closing yet.
I
have now had vodka ginger. We are here the whole
night. I need to get wine?
Yes, you do.
So I would imagine if I now have a one-to-many relationship. So for example, if we didn't have this difference between lurker and conference, okay, imagine we just would have one user, which is not happening, but it would only be one user and they can subscribe to different conferences. We would probably have a row in the users table with a list of conference IDs.
Usually don't do columns with lists in them. That's kind of discouraged, but sometimes it makes sense. Like, for example, for the tags, I could imagine a situation where we'd use that. But in that case, when you model database relationships and you model one-to-many relationships, the referencing column is always on the one part. So in that case, assuming you have multiple conferences and just one user, you'd put the user ID on the conferences table.
But didn't we have this for comments? So if we
similar to comments, yeah.
If both of you had time, we could do the comments row, and then we could be done, because then we would do a one-to-many, and that would kind of show both those use cases. Do you have time, Benedikt? Do you have another 20?
I don't have anything else coming up, but
that's why I said good. We're all in. That's why we're good. We're all in Europe, and we're doing this at night. There's no meetings scheduled.
I mean, we can just, let's say a comment is a word. So I would make a table comments. Also, UUI. Oh no, not this again. Wait. Okay. Oh,
it worked on the first try. Amazing.
I'm really good now. So, and let's say the comment has a text.
It would be cool if one could search those drop downs, right?
Yeah, that's what we've been
I think,
saying.
yeah, you can search them, but only if you open them. So that's the thing. So, and okay,
you can see Lillian is very much into database modeling down there in the bottom.
In that case, that's the many. So that would mean I would then have confirm to close, go away. And that row.
No, so you would then you would need that column referencing the conference. That's how you would do one-to-many. So in your comments table, you will have a column that says conference ID, so that we can connect the comment to the conference.
Okay, yeah, I just thought the other way around, but that's yeah,
because that's what you kind of mentally want to do, right? Because it's like the conference is having all of these comments, but when you're modeling a one-to-many relationship, it's like it's the other side that owns it, even though it feels weird.
Yeah, you always have to think from the thing that's only associated to one thing. So the comment can always only belong to one conference. But the conference can have many, so you can't have an ID.
And then Garrett also says that you can have an author on the comment. So that would be a reference to a profile again.
Oh no, I forgot it. Yes, we need an author. Oh wow, look at me, data model.
Oh, is this our first spam? Look at that.
Do we have spam?
Is it
a recruiter? No, it's spam.
I think so.
Are we famous?
Or is it not? That looks like spam. Do not check that link, folks.
Maybe a typo.
No, maybe. But maybe it is a real comment. We don't know that.
No,
let's hear something more, Laura. Come on.
Yes.
I want a question. And I'll read it. I promise I won't use John's voice. I'll use another voice.
One thing before you save, it's profile ID probably instead of profiles ID.
True. I mean, maybe.
You want to compare program with or mob program with group program with us on Little New Year's Eve, Benedikt? You have an eye for the details.
That's true.
By the way, before we move on, one interesting thought experiment here is you specified profile ID as not nullable. The question now is, what happens when a user deletes their profile? Does that also remove all their comments?
And conference subscriptions?
maybe
probably
then
remove
I
their conference subscriptions because they don't exist anymore. But
Oh yeah,
do you
yeah.
also want to remove their comments?
couldn't I have one user with a specific ID that is called like deleted user, and then just show a deleted user at every comment if I would let the comment be in the table still.
Or could you keep
Yeah,
the ID, but then when you click the ID, you don't get to any.
Well, yeah, that's exactly the question.
That's a good
We could
question.
also just allow the column to be nullable, and when we load the comment and see there's no profile attached to it, so show anonymous user or
Yes, this is
deleted
why
user.
we talk to you.
So you would keep that nullable. That's what you're saying. That would be your suggestion.
Yeah, I'd probably keep that nullable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not the text though.
Where's the?
Did I?
Where's the
Am I in
profile?
the? I'm just completely in. Am I in the wrong?
No, I think you just
for
didn't
some reason
save. So
yeah, for some reason the thing is gone.
Yeah.
Both relationships are gone. I think you want to keep the text though.
yeah, you want to keep the text because that's the comment.
It was a heartbeat already.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
getting late.
it is getting late. No. Go. Oh, yeah, you go there.
No, that's
Sorry.
fine. Yeah.
I thought we were in the data view now. I was like, no, we didn't want that data, the view that we were trying to do when we were adding rows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, save. Next.
Oh, we got more spam. Wow, this is. I feel like we're famous now when there's like we got spammers on our live stream.
Or maybe Alexis want to recommend Voyager.
Star
Trek Voyager, because for your info, Star Trek Voyager is really awesome. It is.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. So where we are, conference profiles ID. Save. Okay.
Now.
Did I think now both is nullable, but yeah, I will change that later.
And then you can change. You already had a comment in there, so you could start just changing that, I guess.
Where? Did I add a comment? When did I do that? No.
Oh, you can add them like a spreadsheet. You can like change or like edit as a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Okay, then I need a conference ID.
And it's gone. No, there it is.
No, it's back again. It's back again.
So did we talk about Superbase being a fairly new product, but they got loads of venture money. So we know they're going to stay alive until they run out of money. Give it like 3 or 4 years. And by then, Mirjam will have to migrate to something else.
Probably. Maybe I will have sold until then.
Yeah. And Garrett is saying conference ID should not be nullable. Only the user, the profile ID. Yeah.
I was. Oh no,
I know the feeling. So.
Okay, let's see. Edit. And
I think there's a reason. I think you asked me this, Benedikt, when we did the podcast where you talked to me about live streaming, and you said something about like why an hour or why an hour and a half. I don't remember exactly what the time I usually did for my POW streams. And I was like, well, it felt right, but I've come to realize that an hour of live streaming, like after that, you like the coding, like you, even though you're like into it, they're like, I can go for another hour. You just like suddenly it's like slowing down into like a little bit of a syrup. So we're just getting a little bit to there, but we're almost done. So I think you're doing great.
Thank you. I mean, now we have comments, and the comment is related to conference, and it's related to a user profile. Sorry, it could also be null. Then we know the user is deleted. Right?
I mean, wow. we have it all now. The only thing we don't have is tags, because Benedikt says it's hard, which I feel like he should be back on in January to talk us through tags, because I have a lot of questions about tags, because I have an application that is based on tags, and I do have some challenges. So I would love to do a full Thursday just on tags. Or I can maybe find another guest if you don't want to be back, but we'll talk about that after.
I don't mind.
No, because
I mean-
tags are super interesting, because like, what if people rename tags, and what if tags are deleted, and all, like, there's so many things. They're so unstructured tags, and we try to like put them in structured. Well, I mean, tags are very like, they don't have any hierarchy, they don't have any, like, they could be anything. So they are kind of like wild, but then we try to get them into some kind of structure, I guess. Wild tags.
Yes,
Well, anywho.
so I leave tags out for now, and it's kind of Benedikt's homework. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Fine with me.
I love this. So if you're a guest on the show, you might go home with homework.
I mean,
And
I don't say we will give you homework, but if we do.
So to summarize a little bit, if you could pull up, do you still have that entity model that you wrote or drew?
Any second. I closed it again. Here it is.
Yeah. So what we've kind of tried to model, or you two have tried to model while I've been drinking and butting in, is a way to model the like conferences, comments, and users, or what we've then called profiles, because that's the entity that we can control, while Superbase kind of owns the user entity or table, I guess. And we're keeping tags for now, but that gave us a way to model both a many-to-many relationship between user and a many-to-many relationship between users and conferences, and we call it subscription. And it could even have a type, because you can be two types of interested in a conference. You could be a lurker or a buddy. And then we modeled a one-to-many relationship between conferences and comments. And we're skipping tags, and we realized we didn't need any kind of relation between, from user to comment, like a comment has a user, but there's no, like, the subscription would run through like being subscribed to a conference. You don't subscribe kind of to the comment, you subscribe to the conference, and then you will get all news of the conference, I guess. So that we didn't need to model that specifically, because that kind of came out of the model that we have, I guess. Not my best summary, but
it was good.
It's a summary. So little coding, but we have modeled out. I thought it was really nice to see, because it's just like really good to see it inside of a service like Superbase that is kind of visual. Then we could actually see like how these things work together. And the homework for Mirjam will be to actually get this content showing on her conference list. So if you show your conference list tab there in your browser, Mirjam, in your browser, if you go to the conference list that you have open, then your homework will be to replace those eyes and dog icon numbers there with data from the database. So there will not be 14 people, because we do only have a test user so far. Very prolific test user. It's already made a profile and everything. But so the homework will be to just change I'm not going to say the word just, but I will be to change those two numbers to actually include data from the database. And I guess you will have to research if that would make sense even to make that real time, because Superbase has that real time interface. I don't know if it's all real time, or if you can decide between real time and not real time. Yeah.
I think you have to opt in. And
Opt
honestly,
in,
I'd not worry about real time for now.
But it's so satisfying though, when you're like, you can have two tabs open and you're like clicking in one and it updates in the other. It's so, but yes.
But that means you need a second GitHub account then, right?
Because you have to be logged in. I have 3 GitHub accounts now because of streaming.
I mean, I'm also adding like Twitter and other stuff, so you could log in with different.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And GitLab
and not connect them. That will be interesting though, because people will then like how if Superbase has a way, we didn't talk about that in authentication because that is one of the issues when you give people the option to log in with Twitter or GitHub, or a password. Like I never remember which one I chose. And if some of these services, I remember Buffer back in the day, they like if they couldn't find an account for you, they would just create a new account. And I was like, oh, I don't remember if I logged in. And I clicked like, maybe I logged in with Twitter, and I clicked Twitter and suddenly I had a new account. And I was like, no, it wasn't Twitter. And suddenly I had like 5 accounts because it didn't tell me like, no, there is no active account.
Amazing sign up rate.
But maybe I could, that happened to me too, but maybe I could also put this information in the profile. Like you signed up with this service.
Yes, you could do something like that.
Because that happens to me too. I log in with all the services. Like, is it Twitter? Oh, no, actually not. Is it this? I think I have some service where I have just 2 or 3 accounts because of that. And if a user logged in, they're getting information back. Like there's something in the reply. So I could actually see, this is, I sent the data. I know that's from GitHub. So I could save that just as an information for the user.
We're going to save this for the future, Mirjam. I just put that out there. It is not homework. It is not homework. Your homework.
You cannot give me ideas. I spent a whole day setting up pre-commit hooks and like a CI pipeline. I'm working alone on this. It's just like I'm getting into the rabbit holes of stuff.
Yeah, so do not get into that rabbit hole. The important thing here is for people to be able to sign up to be a lurker or a buddy, and also then realizing they can't be both.
Yes.
Yeah, and that will then
change. That's a good point. We didn't really enforce that on a database level, but
no, because then we would say that because then we would have, if we have made the primary key a combination of the profile ID and the conference ID, then we wouldn't have been able to make more than once.
Yeah, or add a unique index, or there are like a lot of ways to do this, but I guess that's it.
Oh, you're going to be back on the streams for
I'm going to be back,
6 months of streams just talking about data models. No, sorry. So
and then restructuring the database over and over again.
Yeah, that's all we're going to do on this stream. It's like we're not talking about Gatsby at all.
We're done with coding.
We'll just be doing. Yeah, but so. Again, to summarize the homework, it will be to change those eyes and dogs to show the data from the database. And to do that, you will have to figure out how to kind of hook up Superbase with Gatsby, which means how to do this in React. And we can do a little bit of chat about that off stream. And then we could show the audience, like when we do more of a coding stream in 2 weeks, we could like show how we solve that, because there are some good ways of doing that. And then I guess Benedikt's homework was going to be to research tags, how we should do tags, and then be back on in 3 weeks when your holidays are over. If you're still up for that, you're allowed to cancel. And that's it. I think.
That was fun.
Yeah, and did I say Petter said it looks nice? We had it up on screen. So Petter André Haugseth said looks nice. Yeah, I think so too. I really like the emoji. I really like the emoji icons. They work really well. Like the eyes and the dog. Like it's very visual. Okay, unmute yourselves, everyone on the loft, and take us out of here. And I'll go to group layout.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with Queen Ray. And Mirjam Albach, our conference buddy, and me and Lillian, and our our guest today has been the great and powerful Benedikt Deicke. Remember to smash that like button, friends.
And subscribe.
Bye. Vink,
Bye.
lilla vink.
Everybody
Bye.
wave.